Now for our What in the World segment. It has been less than 2 months since Joe Biden assumed leadership of the country, and we've all watched the return to regular press briefings and routine policy squabbling with profound relief. American democracy, as Biden put it in his inaugural speech, appears to have prevailed. If that's true of the world's oldest democracy, in the world's biggest, it is a different story altogether. The pro-democracy nonprofit Freedom House put out its annual report this week, and India's status, usually a rare bright spot in Asia, has fallen from free to partly free for the first time in 30 years. India's illiberal slide has been steady and now swift under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his BJP. Over the past few years, India has clamped down tightly on freedom of speech. Police have filed criminal charges against activists, journalists, and opposition politicians for merely criticizing the government under a colonial-era sedition law. Last month, a climate activist in her early 20s named Disha Ravi was arrested on sedition charges for doing nothing worse, it seems, than drafting and sharing a document in support of the ongoing farmers' protests. The document was later tweeted by Greta Thunberg. The police accused Ravi of attempting to spread disaffection against the Indian state. According to the research group Article 14, more than 7,000 people have faced sedition charges since Modi was elected Prime Minister in 2014. The press, once vaunted for its dynamism, has been under relentless attack and intimidation. The New York Times reported in April that Modi used the pandemic to harangue media outlets into providing favorable coverage. His government has pressured outlets to fire journalists critical of its policies and to suspend features that critiqued it, the paper reported. A spokesperson for India's foreign ministry responded to the Freedom House downgrade on Friday, saying India has robust institutions and well-established democratic practices. We do not need sermons, especially from those who cannot get their basics right. A central thrust of the government's illiberalism relates to its efforts to promote Hindu nationalism, singling out India's Muslim minority. In December of 2019, the government passed the Citizenship Amendment Act, a law which allows a path to citizenship for migrants belonging to 6 different religions from nearby countries. The one group it does not set a path for, Muslims. And there are hints of more discriminatory policies to come. BJP officials have spoken of instituting a national citizens register in which every Indian would have to establish proof of their place of birth. It's difficult for many to furnish such proof in India, but as Freedom House notes, Muslims would be disproportionately affected by such a register. And then there is Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir was India's only Muslim-majority state. I say was because in August 2019, the central government hurriedly passed legislation that stripped Kashmir of its statehood and its special autonomous status under the Indian Constitution. And under a harsh security crackdown, thousands of people in the state were preventively detained. Freedom House tallies Kashmir separately than the rest of India. In 2020, Kashmir's score plummeted. Currently, it is rated as not free, on par with dictatorships and police states. The Indian historian Ramachandra Guha argues in a recent article in the journal Liberties that the beauty and radicalism of the nationalism of India's founding fathers is that it was not tied to any single faith or language. It exalted in India's diversity. India has fallen short of its democratic ideals before Modi, but rarely has it fallen so far, so fast. The country is not yet lost as an anchor of democracy in the world, but it could be if it continues its slide, a result that would be catastrophic for it, but also for the world, in which India has always stood as a shining beacon, a thriving refutation to the idea that democracy was something better suited for rich countries or for the West. Better than almost any country, India has affirmed the idea that democracy was a universal right of all humankind.